Hi, so I'm going to be showing you how to make the baby striped beanie. Now, this video tutorial also comes with a written pattern, so this is perfect if you are wanting to learn how to read crochet patterns. You can follow the tutorial on the video as well as following the written pattern, and you'll be able to see how the two link together, and hopefully you will be able to go on to sort of learn to read patterns a bit better. This is definitely how I learnt, so I think it's a really good way to learn. If you would like the pattern, I will put a link below in the description of how you can get hold of that. So this is the newborn size, and this is the one that I'm going to be taking you through. The hat comes in 4 sizes: newborn, 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, and 6 to 12 months. If you're wanting to do one of the larger sizes, you can find all the relevant information within the written pattern. So let's get started. The yarn I am using is Stylecraft Special DK. Any DK yarn will work for this pattern. If you're wanting to follow this exactly, the colours that I'm using is silver and citron, and the hook size that you will need is a size 4 hook. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create a magic ring, which will create the top bit of your hat. If you don't feel comfortable doing a magic ring, then you can do a chain 3, slip stitch into the first chain, and then in the middle of that do your initial stitches. But I'm going to do a magic circle because that's personally how I prefer to start my hats. Okay, so let's get started. So okay, so first off we are going to chain 2. That chain 2 will count as your first stitch. Now if you are following in the written pattern, we are currently on round 1. So the wording in the pattern is create a magic circle or chain 3 and join with a slip stitch into the first chain. You will then use the centre of the circle you have created. So you chain 2, which we have done, and then for the newborn pattern you want to then do 15 double crochets. This will mean that you will have 16 stitches at the end. So we'll yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That's 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we've now got 16 stitches including the chain 2 at the beginning. Now if you've done a magic circle, what we will need to do now is make that a bit tighter just to make this next step a bit easier. Okay, so then what we want to do is we want to slip stitch into the top of that chain 2. So this is the stitch here. That is the stitch from your first double crochet. You do not want to slip stitch into that. You want to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2, which is the next stitch along, which is here. If we slip stitch into that, let's pull that a bit tighter. Okay, We then want to chain 2 and turn. Okay, so we are now on to round 2 of the pattern, and the wording in the pattern is 1 double crochet in the base of the chain 2, and then you will repeat 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and you'll repeat that until the end, and you'll slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. So you should end up with 32 stitches, and that is including this chain 2. So we've already turned. The base of the chain 2 is the stitch that you slip stitched into. So you want to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So there is your first 2 double crochets into the first stitch. That is known as an increase. So we're going to increase into all the stitches all the way around. So I'll do the next one for you. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet. So we've now got 4 stitches. We'll do that again. So you've now got 6 stitches. Now you want to do that all the way round until you have 32 stitches. And pause the video and you carry on, and I'll meet you when you get round there. So I've just got 1 increase left to make. So I'm just going to do that final one. Just here. And then again we want to slip stitch into the top of the chain, not the first double crochet. So that will be here. And chain 2 and turn. So a little tip for you, make sure at the end of each round that you count your stitches. It's very, very easy to miscount as you're going round. Anyone who was eagle-eyed would have noticed that I actually was 1 stitch short on my first round there. So I did actually go back and add that stitch in if anyone noticed that. So yeah, it's very, very important that you always double check your stitch count. Okay, so we're now on to row 3. So again, the chain 2 counts as the first stitch. So we're going to do 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the next, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet. And we're going to do that all the way round. So because you started with 2 double crochets, your last stitch should be a single double crochet. That's, for me, that's always a really good indicator that you have got that right. And we should end up with a total number of 48 stitches at the end. So let's do the first double crochet into the base of that chain 2. That's 2. And then 1. Do that again. So you do 2 in that one, or increase in that one. And then 1 double crochet in the next stitch. So we'll do that again. 2 double crochet in this stitch. And 1 double crochet in the next. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with that. You pause the video and I will meet you when we get round here. Okay, so I've gone all the way round now and I just have 1 double crochet left to do, so I'm just going to finish that off. And then slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. chain 2 and turn. Okay, so that's round 3 finished. We're now going to move on to round 4. This is still an increase row, but is a little bit different to the other increase rows that we've been doing. So we're going to do an increase here, and then pretty much opposite an increase here, and then rest of the double crochets you're just going to do 1 stitch in each stitch. So we're only going to increase it by 2 more stitches. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put another double crochet into the base of that chain 2. If we remember, that chain 2 counts as a stitch. And then we are going to just do 1 DC in the next 23 stitches. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 and 23. So in the next stitch we're going to do an increase, so that's 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and then you're going to carry on doing double crochets in each one of these stitches until you come back to your chain 2, and you will have at the end of that 50 stitches. So pause the video and I will meet you back round here. Okay, by the end of that round you should have 50 stitches. I would double check that you do have 50 stitches because this is our final stitch count for the rest of the hat. If you don't have 50 stitches, the hat's going to look very wonky, or it won't fit. It won't come down straight like it's supposed to. So we're going to move on to round 5. We are moving on from doing double crochets to doing single crochets, so a bit of an easier stitch. So the first thing we are going to do is, I haven't yet, but we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first chain 2 when I find it. There it is. Okay. So up until now our chains have counted as a stitch. We're moving on to a chain 1. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to do our first single crochet into the base of that chain 1 where we slip stitched into. And then into the next stitch. We're just going to keep doing single crochets all the way round. Remember, you need to have 50 stitches at the end. I would highly suggest that if you haven't already done so, that you count your stitches. Okay, I'm going to keep carrying on going round. You pause the video and I will meet you when we get back to the start. Okay, so we have now completed round 5. We're now going to move on to round 6. So I have already slip stitched in to the first stitch. So actually let me go back and show you that one, because that's a little bit different to to the other one. So let's just do my final single crochet. So previously you would have slip stitched into the top of the chain. Now we ignore the chain. In fact, you can't really see it, to be honest. You want to slip stitch into the top of the first stitch, like so. Okay, so we're going to chain one again and turn, remembering that your chain one does not count as a stitch. And we're going to single crochet in to where the base of that chain one is, and then we're going to carry on doing single crochets all the way around. So this round is just a repeat of round 5, so you want to end up with 50 single crochets at the end of this round. So I'm going to carry on going round. You can pause the video and I will meet you when we get round to here again. Okay, so I have finished that round, and we are just going to finish with a slip stitch. Remembering this is into the top of the first single crochet, like so. Now we are actually going to move on and change colour here, so I would suggest snipping your yarn. Now there's various ways that you can change colour. Excuse me, I have tried various ways with this hat, and I find the best way is just add it at this point. So with your new colour, you're going to chain one, turn, making sure that you keep the yarn ends that you've just created back of the hat. We're then going to do a half double crochet into the bottom of where you slip stitched into. Like so. Okay, what I do at this point is I just pull all of these tails tighter just to keep everything neat. And then we're going to carry on and we're going to do half double crochets all the way round. Now you may see some people, when they're doing this, they crochet in the tails. Personally, I don't. I have done in the past, and I found that as I have washed items, the tails have actually come undone. I don't find it a particularly secure way, especially when you are making something like a hat or a garment, especially for a child that you're likely to wash multiple times. I find it better to actually use a needle at the end and spend the time to properly sew them in. I find that is a lot more secure. So if this is going to be worn quite a lot, I would suggest that you just leave the ends for now and we sew them in later. I'm going to carry on doing my half double crochets all the way around. So you can pause the video here and we'll rejoin when we get to our last stitch. Okay, so I have finished that round. That was round 7. As you can see, the hat is now starting to look a little bit more hat shaped, which is exactly what we want. So what I'm going to do now is slip stitch into the top of that first half double crochet, which is just here. Okay, we now need to change back to the grey. So we snip our yarn and bring in our grey. Just get a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so we'll add our grey and just chain one, pull that purple tail nice and tight, turn. Now we're going to be working, let's get these tails out of the way so you can see better. We're going to be working into the third loop of the half double crochet. Now in the first one it is very, very hard to see, so let me just talk you through. So your top loops here where the V is, that is your loop 1 and loop 2. Your loop 3, if I just get my crochet hook, is this loop right here. You're going to be single crocheting into that loop. Now on the first one it is very, very difficult to see. It's tucked just under here. Okay, so we're going to single crochet into that first one, and again as before, just pull everything tight. So that's your first one. Then your second one is here, and a single crochet to the third loop, and then again single crochet into the third loop and single crochet into the third loop. Now if we turn it over, you can start to see that the V shape at the top is now laying at the front, so you get this lovely textured effect, which you'll see all the way around the hat as we keep going. Oh, got myself all tangled up there. So we're going to carry on going round, single crocheting into the third loop of the half double crochet from the previous round. So I'm going to carry on doing that. You can pause the video and I will meet you when we get to the other end. Okay, so I finished that. I've checked that I have 50 stitches. I have found that this is a very, very easy row to get your stitches wrong, so do double check before you end your row. So I have checked, I have 50 stitches, so I am going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet. Chain one, turn, and then we're going to single crochet into the base of that chain. Ooh, there we go. And then we are simply just going to single crochet all the way around. So you can see, if I just turn this the right way around, you can see that we've got that lovely texture going all the way around the hat. So carry on doing your single crochets until you get to the end, and I will meet you here. Okay, so you now should be at the point we've done your last stitch. So we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet again. Chain one and turn your work. So you've got 2 rows of single crochet. We are going to do a third. So just like before, you need to put your first stitch into the base of that chain, remembering that the chain one does not count as a stitch. We then just want to do our single crochets going round, remembering to count that you need 50 stitches by the end. So pause the video again and I will meet you when we're back here again. Okay, so I've done my last stitch, and again I'm going to slip stitch into this first stitch. Okay, now we've done 3 rows of single crochet, it's time to do our next stripe. So we're going to snip the grey and bring the purple back in. Okay, there we go. We're going to chain 1, we're going to turn, keeping those ends to the back, and then we're going to do a half double crochet like we did with the last stripe, and just pull those ends a bit tighter. And we're going to go around, all the way around, and do 50 half double crochets. Okay, you keep going around all the way to the end, pause the video, and I'll meet you there. Okay, I'm back at the start again, so I'm going to join the round with a slip stitch. We are going back to the row that created this texture here, so we're going to be doing single crochets into the 3rd loop, which is this loop at the back here of the stitch. So first things first, let's snip off our purple. Ooh. And bring our grey back in. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And then we are going to find that first stitch. Oh, this one's a bit tricky. There we go. So there we go. I'm just going to go into the 3rd loop all the way along, remembering to make sure that we've got 50 at the end. So I'll meet you back here again, and then I will take you through what we're going to do for the rest of the pattern. So pause the video and I'll see you then. Okay, so we're now at the point where you should have 2 stripes already completed on your hat. It is just a repeat pattern from now on, so you will do another 2 rows of single crochet, followed by a row of half double crochet, followed by a single row of single crochet in the 3rd loop, followed by another 2 rows of single crochet. It just repeats like that until you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stripes. When you have finished your 5th stripe, don't cut off your colour, don't cut off your yarn, come back and join me. So pause the video, rewind it if you need to go back to the other sections to follow if you need to for the rest of the pattern, but you're going to continue and do a further 3 stripes, and when you've finished your coloured stripe at the end, do not cut off your yarn and join me back here. So by now you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stripes within your hat. If you are doing the larger sizes, by the way, there will be more, but for the newborn hat there is 5 stripes. So hopefully you haven't cut your yarn, so we're just going to do our final slip stitch for this round. Okay, so we're going to do our single crochet in the 3rd loop round, but instead of swapping to the grey, we're going to continue doing it in our purple. So we've chained 1, we'll just turn, and then we'll just go all the way around. Doing a single crochet in the 3rd loop. This is how we will finish the hat off. So you want to go all the way around back to here, and I will show you how to finish the hat off. So pause the video and join me back there. So to close the hat off and finish it, you just need to slip stitch into that stitch, and then the way that I do it is I snip the yarn off, just pull it through like so, and then you will need to sew your ends in. So you need to take a darning needle and then you just want to sew that end in. And you probably want to do it a bit more than that. I would normally do 2 inches worth, going back and forth through it, and if you turn it inside out, you have loads of lovely ends here. These all need sewing in. Make sure they're nice and secure. And there you have it, your finished newborn hat.